Hello. Oh, hello. I just finished The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Okay, so I am a local hippie. Today, we're going to be talking about this book. This book. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me just start by saying that this book can be like a little difficult to follow, but it is so worth it. The book can be a little convoluted at times, a little congested, a little bloated, but I believe the when you get to the bare bones of the story, it's so beautiful and it could have been executed a lot better, but the idea stands. So basically, in The Idiot, we are following Prince Lev Mikalov Mashkin, who has come from Switzerland back to Russia on business with the intent of meeting with the last of his heritage, or that is what he thought this person would be. He thought that this woman was the last of his namesake, the last of the Mashkin family. Um, Turns out she wasn't. There was no real relation between the two of them, but he finds a sort of friendship with this family, forms a sort of something like a bond with this family. And really, when you get to the heart of this book, what it's about is the picture of goodness or goodness itself, which is personified by Prince Moshkin, being put into this cesspool of wealth and high society that is Russian society, high Russian society, with people who don't understand him, who, quite frankly, I think do everything not to understand him because he's so different from them, and kind of what can happen to a person who is good when they're thrust into that sort of society. And ultimately, what ends up happening is it destroys the prince. And all of these people, except for a few of them, still carry on as usual. And so it's just that. It's just that. It's just goodness when put in the midst of Russian high society. And ultimately, it's a critique on Russian society. That's all it is at bottom. This book is comprised of 4 parts, and I think the best way to describe each part or to summarize each part is we're following different families, not even really following, but we're getting to know different families. So in the first part, we it's really the groundwork for the entire story is being laid. We meet pretty much everyone that means something to the story, and even those who don't mean anything to the story. And then in part 2, it was it was pretty muddled. It was like kind of all over the place. Insert the convoluted nature that I spoke of before, the bloated nature of what I was talking about before. It was just so much going on, and like hardly any of it stuck with me. But I figured I'm gonna keep going because I still like the story. It's just that this, we probably didn't need this or we didn't need that. And then and in part 2, I'm trying to think of whether we're following Prince Mushkin, and then we're also looking at the Ipanshin family, and then we get, and a little bit, we're getting a little bit of some of the other characters like Nastasia Filipnova and Rogozhin. We do have like a significant like conversation that happens between the prince and Rogojin. But yeah, pretty much you're really following the prince pretty much, and we're seeing him. And then in part 3, we are pretty much following the Eponchins, which are the relations that the prince was trying to get in contact with in part 1. And like I said, he formed a sort of bond with these people. He's falling in love with their youngest daughter. She's falling in love with him. They're very interested and kind of like trying to understand each other. And that's what's happening in part 3. You see a lot more of the Eponchins and a lot of their motives and what they're going through. And then you get to the last part of this novel, part 4, and then you're pretty much following another family, the Petitson family. I'm going to call them the Petitson family just because that's easier, which is comprised of another acquaintance that the prince made in part 1. But we get a little bit more on this family, a little bit of an in-depth look into this family in part 4 that we didn't get throughout the rest of the story. And there was a lot that just kind of flew over my head. This is the sort of book that you read multiple times in your life, and you evaluate and you study. Maybe not study, but you read it multiple times in your life and you learn different things as you do that. And I'm looking forward to reading it again many times throughout my life, because even though it can be bloated at times, it still, the moral of the story and the crux of the story still um was penetrating enough that I think I'm going to be thinking about this book for a long time, even, yay, months in advance, years away, months away. Like I feel like this is going to stick with me. And the ending, and I felt like it all came together. Despite the chaos, it still came together and made an impact on me as the reader. And that is true genius, in my opinion. And that is why, like I would say, Dostoevsky, even though he could ramble, and even though he went on these rabbit trails and these digressions, he's like, it's still very genius. And so I I really, really, really enjoyed this book. And um, as promised, I will still be making what is that? 3 other video essays on this book, because again, I want to break down each part a little bit better. Um, this is just me just having to speak about this book and having to speak about my love for this book. By the way, I rated it 5 stars. If I could, I would rate it 10 stars. That's going to bring us to the end of the video. I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good evening. And most importantly, I hope you read a book as good as The Idiot today and beyond. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.